The Katame-no-Kata were established in 1884 and 5 after the Nage-no-Kata. They're made up of 3 sets of techniques, each consisting of 5 representative techniques from Osaikomi-waza, Shime-waza and Kansetsu-waza. By practicing the kata, the idea is to master the theoretical basis for executing and evading each technique. In 1882, Master Jigoro Kano founded Kodokan Judo, establishing the Randori method based on Nage-waza and Katame-waza. Since then, theoretical research has led to the introduction of numerous new techniques. Together, the Nage-no-Kata and the Katame-no-Kata form the Randori-no-Kata, which were established to enable practitioners to understand and master the principles. Let's begin with the bowing. Take special note of the distance between the tori and uke and their positions. The tori and uke stand facing each other at a distance of about 5.5 meters. The tori is on the left. They turn towards the front and make a standing bow, then face each other to sit and bow. Together they stand and step forward on their left foot and into Shizen Hontai. The tori draws his left foot back and kneels, turning his right knee outwards. This kneeling posture is called kyoshi or kuraidori. All action commences from this posture. The right knee is more or less at a right angle. The left leg and hip should be aligned. He places his right hand on his knee and allows his left hand to hang naturally. Let's take another look at how the tori steps forward and back. He then kneels in kyoshi, stands up and assumes Shizen Hontai. And now let's see what the uke does when he lies back or gets up. He places his right hand on the mat in front of his left knee with the fingers turned to the left. Supporting his body with his right hand and left foot, he lies back. To get up, he supports his body with his right hand and left foot to lift his hips, draw his right foot back and resume the kyoshi kneeling posture. The Osaikomi-waza are made up of 5 techniques as shown. And now from the end of the bowing to the beginning of Kesagatame. From kyoshi, the uke takes 1 step forward and lies down. The tori stands up and assumes Shizen Hontai. He moves towards the uke's right until he's about 1.2 meters away and assumes kyoshi. This distance is known as toma. He takes 2 more steps to be within a 30 centimeter reach of the uke. This is chikama. The tori moves in and applies kesagatame. The uke is unable to break the hold and gives the signal for defeat. Mairi, give up. They both resume their positions at the beginning of kesagatame. The tori returns to chikama and assumes kyoshi. Toma is a distance of about 1.2 meters. Chikama is about 30 centimeters. The tori moves slightly forward and traps the uke's right arm in his left armpit. He then slips his right hand under the uke's left armpit, pressing his body against the uke's to apply kesagatame. The uke attempts to escape in 3 ways, but is unable to get up. He signals maeri, give up. To signal give up, the uke should either tap the tori's body or the mat twice or kick the floor. Using both hands, the tori traps the uke's right arm in his left armpit. He lowers himself onto his right hip to pass his right hand under the uke's left armpit and place it on the left shoulder. The tori puts his right knee under the uke's right shoulder while bending his left leg, placing the inside of his knee on the mat. He presses his body firmly against the uke and applies the hold. Once the tori has applied the hold by pulling strongly with both hands, the uke tries to escape in 3 ways. He first tries to twist the tori's left elbow. He then tries to twist his body to insert his right knee between himself and the tori. And finally, he tries to flip the tori over his left shoulder. Although these are the 3 basic methods of escape, it's possible to try other appropriate methods. Whatever method he adopts, the uke must take advantage of the tori's position to break his hold. Although this technique is now referred to as kuzure kesagatame, it was referred to collectively as kesagatame when the Katame-no-Kata were established. From kesagatame to katagatame. Unable to escape from the kesagatame, the uke signals give up. The tori then retreats to chikama to apply katagatame. From chikama, the tori moves forward a bit more to apply katagatame. The uke attempts to escape, trying 3 methods, but is unable to get up and signals give up. To apply the katagatame, the tori uses both hands to push the uke's right arm up and lock the elbow. Pressing against the uke's right cheek, he wraps his arms around the uke and tightens his grip. The tori wraps his right arm around the uke's right arm and neck. He then clasps his hands under the uke to form a cross, the right hand on top. Pressing the uke's right arm against his right cheek, he presses his right knee against the uke's right side, making sure that his instep is off the mat. He extends his left leg to the side. Let's look at the uke's attempts to escape the hold. He attempts 3 methods, first by pushing up with his elbows, secondly by slipping his knee under the tori's hip, and finally by rolling backward over his left shoulder. To toma and assumes the kneeling posture, kyoshi. He stands in shizen hontai and turns left to move to the toma position above the uke's head. He then moves closer to the chikama position. The tori applies kamishihogatame. Let's look at the main points of Kamishiho Gatame. The tori slides both hands under the uke's shoulders to grab both sides of his belt. The thumb should be turned inward when grabbing the belt. The tori brings his knees towards the uke's shoulders, feet pressed down. The uke attempts to escape the hold, first by wrapping his arm around the tori's neck to push his head to the side. He then tries inserting his left hand under the tori's arm to twist to the side. Finally, he tries pushing the tori's shoulders up with both hands, slipping his knees between their bodies. This time, note how the tori uses his legs and hips to keep the uke under control. As soon as the uke tries to break loose, the tori presses down with his feet so his instep is off the mat and restrains the uke. Once the uke gives up and the tori can resume the hold, he plants his feet back on the mat. He stands up and assumes Shizen Hontai and then moves to the uke's right and moves in from Toma to the Chikama position. The tori draws near the uke and lifts the uke's right arm with both hands to lay it down to his left. Moving further in, he applies the hold. Now the main points of Yoko Shiho Gatame. The tori grabs the left side of the uke's belt with his right hand and the left collar with his left. He lowers his hips, making sure that his insteps remain off the floor. Turning his face to the left, he presses down to apply the hold. Let's take a close look at what the tori does with the uke's right arm. He picks up the arm with both hands and lays it down to his left, pressing his left both hands and lays it down to his left, pressing his left knee against the uke's armpit. The tori grabs the belt first with his left hand, thumb inside, and then switches to his right. Now look at what the uke does to escape the hold. He pushes the left side of the tori's neck with his left hand and attempts to hook the tori's head with his left leg. He twists his hips and tries to slip his right knee under the tori's hips. He grabs the back of the belt with his left hand and tries to flip the tori over. Let's look at it again, taking special note of how the tori responds to the uke's attempts. From Chikama, the tori moves slightly forward and then moves in towards the uke's right shoulder to apply the hold. Take a close look at the tori's grip on the collar. The thumb should be outside. Grabbing the side of the belt with his left hand, the tori presses down with his chest to apply the hold, making sure that his insteps are off the mat. Now let's take a look at the uke's 3 attempts to break the hold. First of all, he pulls his right arm free and tries twisting to the right. Next, he inserts his left knee between their bodies. And finally, he tries to flip the tori to the left. Let's take another look, this time observing the mechanism of attack and defense. They need to respond to each other precisely. From chikama, the tori returns to toma and assumes kyoshi. The uke gets up and they both readjust their judogi. There are 5 shimewaza techniques as shown here. The uke assumes the prone position again. The tori moves towards the uke's right and applies the kata jujijime. Let's take a look at the kata jujijime. The tori takes the uke's right arm and lays it to his left, as in yoko shiho gatame. He moves in and straddles the uke to apply the choke. The tori grips the left collar deeply with his left hand, thumb outside. Straddling the uke, he pushes the uke's left arm to the side with his right hand so that it's at shoulder level. He then twists the uke's head and grabs the right collar, thumb inside, to apply the choke. The tori leans forward, pulling with his left hand and pushing with his right to apply the choke. The uke presses the tori's arms with both hands in an attempt to escape the choke. From kata jujijime to hadakajime. As the tori stands and moves towards the uke's head, the uke sits up and bends his left knee, placing the tip of his foot behind his right knee. His right leg is slightly bent. The tori moves in from toma to chikama, continuing to close in until he's directly behind the uke. He then applies the hadakajime. The tori clasps his hands over the uke's shoulders, palms crossed, and applies the choke. He passes his right arm over the uke's right shoulder and across the throat, pressing his forearm against the uke's throat. He then places his left hand, palm up, on the uke's left shoulder and clasps his right hand to apply the choke. The uke tries to defend himself by pulling down on the tori's arm with both hands. The tori releases the uke and returns to chikama to begin okuri erijime. The tori pulls down on the uke's left collar and presses the thumb side of his right wrist against the left side of the uke's neck to grip deep into the left collar. He grips the uke's right collar with his left hand and presses his right cheek against the uke's left cheek. Moving slightly back, he breaks the uke's balance to the rear to choke him. The uke tries to loosen the choke by pulling down on the tori's right arm with both hands. The tori moves in slightly to release the uke. The tori moves behind the uke to apply the kata hajime. The tori grips the uke's left collar deeply with his right hand and slides his left hand under the uke's left arm to press the elbow up high, breaking his balance to the rear. The tori then draws his right foot back, twisting to the right as he slides his left hand under his right arm to apply the choke. The tori slides his left hand under his right arm, fingers extended and the palm facing inwards to apply the choke. From kata hajime to gyaku jujijime. The tori moves to the uke's right while the uke assumes a prone position. The tori moves slightly in and moves the uke's right arm to his left. He moves closer and applies the gyaku jujijime. The tori grabs deep into the uke's left collar with his left hand, thumb outside, and pushes the uke's left arm outwards with his right hand, straddling him. He then takes firm hold of the uke's right collar using a reverse grip so that his arms are crossed. He then pulls with both hands to apply the choke. The uke presses the tori's elbows up with both hands to break the hold. The tori seizes this opportunity to roll onto his left and squeeze the uke's body between his legs, crossing his ankles and pulling with both hands to apply the choke. The tori releases his hold and returns to chikama and then to toma to stand. and the uke sits up and assumes kyoshi. They both readjust their judogi and proceed to kansetsu waza. This set is comprised of 5 techniques, as shown here. The uke assumes a prone position again. The tori stands up and moves towards the uke's right. He moves slightly closer and applies the udegarami. Let's look at that again. The uke tries to grab the tori's collar, but the tori takes the uke's wrist with his left hand. He slides his right hand under the uke's arm and seizes the left wrist to apply the lock. The tori presses the uke's left elbow down on the mat just above his left shoulder. Bending the left arm at a right angle, he draws both wrists towards him to apply the lock. The uke twists his left wrist inwards and raises his left shoulder and hip in an attempt to break the lock. And now from udegarami to ude hishigi juji gatame. The tori takes the uke's right wrist and pulls up, pressing the tip of his right foot against the armpit. He swings his left leg over the uke's head and traps the uke's upper right arm between his legs, pulling the arm up to lock the elbow. The tori applies the lock, twisting the uke's arm so that the thumb is turned away from him. The uke raises his hips and draws his right arm towards him, twisting to the left in an effort to escape. From ude hishigi juji gatame to ude hishigi ude gatame. The tori demonstrates his intention to attack. Just as the uke is about to grab his right collar, he lowers his body and traps the uke's left wrist between his neck and shoulder to lock the elbow with both hands. Let's take a look at how the tori uses his neck, shoulder and hands to apply the lock. He presses his right palm against the uke's elbow and places his left hand over his right, tightening his own elbows to draw the uke's elbow towards him. He then twists to the left to lock the arm. He presses his right shin against the uke's lower ribs to prevent him getting up. The uke tries to escape by pulling his left arm free. From ude hishigi ude gatame to ude hishigi hiza gatame. The tori stands up and advances to a position above the uke's head. In the meantime, the uke sits up and assumes kyoshi. They both move slightly forward to engage in the right basic hold and enter into the ude hishigi hiza gatame. The tori traps the uke's right arm under his armpit and presses the left knee against the uke's right elbow to lock the arm. The tori slips his left hand under and over the uke's right arm to draw it towards him and trap the uke's wrist in his armpit. He presses his palm against the uke's right elbow to lock it. The tori breaks the uke's balance to the front and presses his right foot against the uke's groin to fall backwards. He twists to the right and pushes with both feet to lock the elbow. The tori should push the uke's back with the tip of his left foot while pressing his left hand against the inside of his knee. The uke tries to escape by pushing his right arm between their bodies. They both stand and move on to the final technique in the Katame-no-Kata, ashigarami. When the kata were first introduced, ashigarami qualified as a randori technique, but now it's prohibited. The tori hooks his left leg over the uke's right leg to lock it. The tori attempts a tomoe nage, but the uke steps forward with his right foot and tries to lift him. At that moment, however, the tori shifts his hips to the right and presses the back of his foot against the inside of the uke's left knee to pull him forward, hooking his leg over the uke's right. Here's how to hook the leg. The tori brings his left leg around the uke's right leg from behind and wedges his left foot against the uke's lower abdomen, twisting his hips to the right. He straightens his left leg and pulls with both hands to lock the knee. The uke attempts to escape by twisting to the left. The tori and uke move apart and assume kyoshi. The tori takes 2 steps back. The uke takes 1 step back to return to his starting position. They both stand and assume shizen hontai. They then return to their positions at the start of the kata. Let's review the Katame-no-Kata. The first technique in the set of osai komi waza is kesagatame. The tori traps the uke's right arm in his armpit, pressing his body firmly against the uke's with his legs spread wide apart. The uke makes 3 attempts to escape. Kata-gatame consists of controlling the uke's arm and neck with the left leg extended to apply the hold. The principles behind the 3 attempts at escaping must be linked. The third technique is Kami-shiho-gatame. The tori traps the uke's arms with both of his arms, lowers his hips and applies the hold, making sure that his insteps are off the floor. Yoko-shiho-gatame. The tori grabs the left side of the uke's belt with his right hand and grips the uke's left collar with his left hand. He presses both knees against the uke and holds him down. The final osai-komi waza is Kuzure Kami-shiho-gatame. The tori applies the Kuzure Kami-shiho-gatame. After the uke signals give up, the tori moves back from chikama to toma and assumes kyoshi, kneeling posture. The first of the shimewaza techniques is kata jujijime. With a reverse grip, the tori deeply slides his left hand, thumb outside, to grip the uke's left collar and grabs the right collar with his right hand, thumb inside, to apply the choke. Hadaka-jime. The tori presses his right hand against the uke's throat and presses his right cheek against the uke's left cheek. He clasps his hands, draws slightly back, and breaks the uke's balance to the rear to apply the choke. In okuri-eri-jime, the tori grabs the uke's left collar with his right hand and pulls down with his left. Kata-hajime. The tori slides his left hand under the uke's right arm, turning slightly to the right to apply the choke. In gyaku jujijime, The tori applies the choke with both hands, thumb outside, turning sideways. The first technique in the set of kansetsu waza is udegaremi. The tori bends the uke's left elbow at a right angle and presses it down on the mat near his left shoulder. The second technique is ude hishigi juji gatame. The tori pulls the uke's arm out from his body at a right angle, turning the arm so that the thumb is facing away from him. Ude hishigi ude gatame. The tori uses his neck and shoulder to trap the arm, pressing both palms against it to pull while twisting to the left. In ude hishigi hizagatame, the tori traps the uke's body with both feet, turns and presses his left knee against his left hand to apply the lock. The last of the kansetsu waza is ashigarami. The tori wedges his left foot against the uke's lower abdomen. Twisting his hips, he straightens his leg to pull with both hands. After ashigarami, the tori and uke move slightly away from each other and assume kyoshi. The tori takes 2 steps back and the uke 1 to return to their starting positions and bow. The Katame-no-Kata is designed to help in the understanding and mastery of the basic principles of the original Katame waza established when Kodokan Judo was founded, and apply the theory to Randori waza. Although it's easy to fall into a mere imitation of form, the kata should be practiced so that the principles of attack and defense are reflected accurately, and so that the strength and vitality inherent in the techniques are conveyed.